program. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience.
I can't hear the song. I can't hear it.
We should have.
Oh my God, look at you flashing me. Look at it. Look at what it says.
We're going to start the program right now, so. So welcome everyone. Benvenuti everyone. Come stai oggi? Okay, so I want to welcome you to Revere's Italian American Heritage Flag Raising. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome everyone. And also, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors who are so kind and generous today. So just give me a minute to announce them. We have Volare's Restaurant. We have S&L Subs. We have Luigi's Pizza and Eatery. We have Rockland Trust on Broadway Revere. We have Valso's Restaurant on Shirley Ave. We have Domeno's Restaurant. We have New Deal Fruit, Toretta's Bakery, BJ's Wholesale. So let's give them a round of applause. So I'm going to take a moment to announce the elected officials who are here in attendance today, along with some of the department heads. First, we have, wow, we have a lot of you guys here, huh? Just bear with me. Don't cut my head off if I miss anyone, but I think I got everyone. Ward 2 Councilor Ira Novoselsky. Ward 3 Councilor and Council President Anthony Cogliandro. Ward 5 Councilor Angela Garino Sawaya. We have Councilor at Large Robert J. Hass III. I just want to make sure. We have State Representative Jeff Turco. State Representative Jessica Giannino. Tony, I didn't forget about you. Councilor at Large Tony Zambuto. See, I was waiting so we would get a big pop. See how that worked? And then we have Senator Lydia Edwards. We have Mayor Keith, Patrick Keith. We have the First Lady of Revere, Jennifer Keith. She still gets a bigger pop than the mayor. Did you notice that? We have, I'll announce Anthony again. Ward 3 Councilor and Councilor President Anthony Cogliandro. Ira was looking out for you. We have Director Deb Pesca of the Senior Center. We have Treasurer Kathy Bowden. We have Chief of Planning Tom Skarowski. We have Police Sergeant Joe Antonicola. We have Assistant Superintendent of Schools Dr. Garcia. And if I miss anyone, oh, we have the Chief of Police, Dave Callahan. And if I missed anyone, you guys can yell at me later. And Lieutenant in Pembroke. And we have the city solicitor here, Paul Capizzi, as well. We have all of City Hall. So we're going to start off with an opening prayer. Actually, one more person. We have the elected secretary of the Italian Committee Abroad, Fabio Colasante.
In one moment, just to ask our God to bless this beautiful celebration today. In the name of the Father, Son, and the most Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, thank you for the beautiful opportunity to celebrate our heritage, our culture. We ask you in a special way today. Especially, we thank you for that gift of family, and especially for the welcoming way in which we were always brought up, that we have the innate desire to include others in our family. We know we have something very special, and to invite others into that is such a gift. So today we...
I'm sorry, it's a tongue twister. You know how hard it is to say so many names? So I must have named off about, what, 100 names tonight? Please. I'm going to say it again. Here we go. So Angela has been so instrumental in putting together this event.
It became a kingdom with the unification of states in the Italian peninsula. It existed as 7 separate states: Regno di Sardegna, Santo Pontificio, Veneto, Lombardia, Italia Centrale Unita. Millions of Italians left their homeland, driven by a combination of economic hardship, political instability, and the allure of opportunity, including my own family, and many of yours as well. They arrived on American shores, mostly Ellis Island, often facing adversity and discrimination. Yet they carried with them the rich cultural heritage of Italy, its art, its cuisine, its language, and its values. Italian immigrants settled in cities across the nation, from Boston specifically to East Boston, the North End, and Revere, to Chicago, to San Francisco, creating vibrant communities that became the heart and soul of urban America. They brought with them not just their dreams, but their work ethics, their dedication, and the commitment to family. They worked in factories, they built railroads, they started businesses, laying the groundwork for future generations of it. As we celebrate this legacy, let us recognize the values that Italian immigrants embodied: resilience, the importance of community, and the pursuit of a better life for future generations. Their story is a powerful reminder of what it means to be an immigrant in America. A journey marked by not only struggle, but also by triumph. Today we honor the contributions of Italian immigrants and their descendants, who continue to shape our nation in countless experiences, in countless ways. I stand before you as an example of that struggle and triumph experienced by my parents, who came to this country with only $300 in their pocket, their wedding money. An alliance who promote the Italian heritage. Mutual cooperation among its members reinforces community involvement and preserves the historical significance and achievements of Italians and Italian Americans. I ask that you support the many Italian American organizations serving our communities. Thank you so much. Grazie e viva Italia!
Okay, so we have a Revere High School student who's participating today.
Troppa penna aveva a partire. Oltre il mare non vuole venire. Lui resta fedele come un cane, nella terra che non mi dà pane. Un piccolo campo proprio lassù, ma il treno corre, non si vede più.
Next, we're going to introduce Mayor Patrick Keefe. You know, with an Irish name like that, you'd think he prefer potatoes, but until you tried a slice of his pizza Gaina. So let's welcome Mayor Patrick Keefe.
You know, you redeemed yourself with the Pizza Gaina conversation. And wow, what an unbelievable display of our Italian American heritage right here at City Hall Plaza. Kudos to you all. This event, and we put some kudos to Steve Morabito for helping put this together, but thank you, Steve. But and Asma, of course, but Angela Garino Sawaya really organized this event. And like most Italian Americans, like most Italians, you say, just do it, just take it easy, don't go too crazy. just a few things, and we have a spread to feast the entire city. That's how normal it is in an Italian household. You cook for 2, you cook for 20, it's all the same, right? So the door is always open. I wrote some notes down, but then I realized that, you know, through the last year and a half, we've had a lot of celebrations, including last year's Italian-American celebration. And I don't really have to read much because I did grow up in an Italian-American household. Like a lot of our Revere residents, Irish, Italian, my father being mostly Irish, and my mother being Sicilian, and being very proud Sicilian. I grew up with the household of you knew great food, you knew great passion and pride, you knew a lot about your history, you knew a lot about your religion, and you knew a lot about your holidays, but most importantly, you knew a lot about how far she can throw a shoe and hit you. And a wooden spoon is a serious weapon. So I grew up in a very proud household, and I was able, my parents were able to pass on a lot of traditions, my grandparents, my wife and her family, a lot of Italian roots, and we really fell into the cooking. And something about being in Revere when you go around the holiday season, what happens during Easter, the Easter celebration, you're at that Stop and Shop Market Basket, New Deal, everyone's looking around, everyone's buying their prosciutto, everyone's buying their fresh cheese, everyone's buying their different ingredients to make the pizzagana. What happens around Christmas time? You go to the fish markets, you can't find anything because we've all bought it all. We bought it all. And we celebrate the Feast of the Seven Fishes, and we represent our culture with our heart, and we share it with everybody. Just like the ingredients of Revere have certainly changed over the last number of years, and they're going to continue to change 20 to 40 years from now. But our roots are really deeply ingrained in the Italian-American culture, and we couldn't be more proud to celebrate this with you today, and I couldn't be more proud to be your mayor. So thank you so much. Let's have a great celebration. I wanted to invite up next our wonderful state senator, Lydia Edwards.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's an honor, obviously, to be here to celebrate Italian heritage. As you know, as you're a representative of the Sicilian contingency, right? No. You know, it's how every feast I am Sicilian every time. You know what I'll say about Italian culture and heritage is, and when it's a celebration for everybody. You're here to celebrate. You're here to acknowledge. You're here to just eat good food. You're welcome. That's the truth. That's the heart of the Italian culture. And I have never felt more welcome than when I am here celebrating, when I'm at the feast, when I'm going to church. It is a beautiful, incredible community. I want to also just give a special welcome to my friends and extended family from the North End. The North End is a special, beautiful community, steeped in rich, deep Italian culture. So thank you for coming here today. I've been to Mass several times with Father Michael. It's just a beautiful moment. But as we're reflecting and thinking about all the things that are Italian culture and heritage, as many of you know, I just came back from basic training. I joined the Army. And I think about things now through that lens. I think about how we are today as a nation is so much because of sacrifices from generations before. So I did my little research. And let me tell you, the freedom we have today in America is because of Italian Americans. World War II. Let me tell you about that great generation. They said, I read, and I had to read it a couple times, 10% of the American forces, 10%, that's 1 in every 10 soldiers, Italian American. Came back, there was 1.5 million that went to serve this country. Came back with the most medals of honors of any group. The most. One war, the most. Sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice in some cases for this great nation. And you can think of how difficult that must have been. World War II, when we were up against Germany, Italy, and other countries. But these young men and women knew they had to show this was their country. They weren't just here to work. They weren't just here to be and visit, to make good food. This was their country, and they were going to contribute and, if not, die for it. So we're here to honor that as part of Italian heritage as well. We can sing, we can dance, but we need to know and never forget those who died for this country, and they're Italian. So again, another round of applause for all of our veterans, Italian American, who served in all the wars since then. And then just on a personal note, I'm here in part because of great teachers I've had in my life. But I want to give a shout out to Mr. Quigley and Mrs. DiCiambo, my high school teachers. You know, my mother worked 2 jobs, and so oftentimes she couldn't come to my games, but I got an interview for a scholarship, and my mom couldn't take me. Mrs. DiCiambo took the day off, got a substitute teacher, drove me 9 hours. Drove me 9 hours, paid for the hotel room, made sure I looked nice, and I got my scholarship. Full ride. Italian American. Mr. Quigley installed in me a love for politics. Italian American. My first job was at Larry's Family Foods, Larry Bertocchi, Italian American. So much of who I am and what I understand and how hard I work has everything to do with the Italian Americans that are a part of my life. So let me say thank you, and also, grazie.
Next on the lineup, are you ready? State Representative Jessica Giannino.
Grazie, Steve. Hi, everybody. Oh, I need to lift it up a little higher. All right, lots of different heights here today. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. I also want to thank Council General Minuti for being here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Yes, please. We're so lucky to be joined by our Consul General from Italy. It's really a great honor, so thank you for taking time to be here. We just had a beautiful ceremony at the State House on October 1st to kick off October as Italian Heritage Month that we got to celebrate together, and I'm so excited to bring you all to Revere to see real heritage, because we know the roots are not in Boston, they're here in our urban communities like Revere. So we're really happy to be here. When I think about what it is to be an Italian American, I'm 3rd generation, and many of you have heard me tell my family story, which I'll tell a little bit today at this event every year. I think about 3 things, and that's faith, family, and food, right? And everything in my life that has to do with that heritage, and my family in general, is surrounded by those 3 things: faith, family, and food. In that order, because if I didn't say it in that order, my grandmother watches this, I'll be in big trouble when I get home. And it's true, because every celebration that we have, every holiday that we celebrate in our culture as Italian Americans has to do with, first and foremost, our faith, right? We celebrate Easter, we celebrate Christmas, we have all these beautiful traditions that the number one reason that we celebrate them is our faith, the benefits that we get to spend time with our family. We get to enjoy amazing food, like we talked about, pizzagena and pastiera and the 7 fishes and all these wonderful things that make our holidays so special and so memorable, that we get to share in communities like Revere with our neighbors that have never experienced them, because we've had 7 different pizzagenas and maybe someone else hasn't got to try them, so they get to try something different. And then by the end of the day, their ankles are so swollen from the amount of salt that they've had, they get to really understand what it's like to be Italian. One of the best parts of the holiday. To be in compression socks by the time you're 32, it's great. But it really is wonderful. And when I think about the second thing that I mentioned, and the most important that in this point in my life right now, it's family. And my family is the reason that I'm standing here before you as your state representative right now. And I'll tell you their story very briefly. As I mentioned, we're 3rd generation. My family came here from Naples. My great-grandfather was from Bonito, my great-grandmother from Guadagnarda, and they came here with nothing. They were farmers, and they took what they knew, as many of our families did. And even though my story is different, this part of Revere especially, and many of our immigrant communities, they're all the same. They took the skills that they had, that they learned from their countries in Italy, and they brought them to Revere, and they took the skills that they had, and they brought them to this area, and they used them. That's why we had Roland's, that's why we had Giannino's, that's why we had greenhouses. And my great-grandmother grew pansies, and that's how Giannino's greenhouse started over 100 years ago. And that was the first brick that started my family, with those skills and that work ethic from Italy that she had and my grandfather had. And it was with that foundation that they then had 10 children. And then that family grew into the Giannino family that's here today, that I'm so blessed to be a part of, that my dad came from, that my grandmother came from, that my predecessor, Rep. Vincent, came from, and that my great-grandmother, who was was an Italian-American immigrant, could say that she had a granddaughter and a great-granddaughter that were state representatives, is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And when I think about the third pillar that I mentioned, that I've touched on a little bit because it's another one of my favorite things in the world, it's food. And when you think about food as an Italian American, I know in my house, and I know it's not unique to my family, it's something that brings us together. We eat when we celebrate, we eat when we mourn, we eat when something really positive in our lives happens, we eat when something really sad happens. And we eat to comfort each other. We eat and we share food with our neighbors to connect. And I think that's something in this community that's really beautiful that we share as people from the city of Revere, that we can share with each other and with our neighbors. Is, it's always been something very comforting that, when someone's going through a tough time, there's never a shortage of people knocking on your door and showing up with a plate of food or showing up with something. And I think that's something as Italian Americans, a very special tradition that we share in bringing that as a sign of love. Because I know in my house, food is love, right? Yep. So as we celebrate October as Italian Heritage Month, I ask you to think about all these things and to remember our faith and our family and our food and these wonderful traditions that we share, because all of these things are what make our culture so unique. And all of these things are why the generations that came before us sacrificed everything that they did and worked as hard as they did to come here so that we could have a better life, so that I could have a better life. Because none of that would have been possible if they didn't leave Italy and make the sacrifices that they did and take the risks that they took. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to see so many people here to celebrate today. So without further ado, I have the honor of introducing the next speaker, who is a very proud Italian American. He is my counterpart in the House of Representatives, none other than the gentleman from Winthrop, Jeff Turco.
Thank you very much. I want to point out Councilor Mark Silvestri has come. Mark, thanks for being here as always. I'll get in trouble if I don't introduce my daughter Mary. She's single if any Italian guys are looking, So my daughter Mary's here. She's in college now, good Catholic girl. So that's on TV too, Mary. You want me to give your phone number out? All right. Jen, make sure she doesn't weapons, please. So, I'm a little nervous now because I got a woman in the front. I have a Catholic priest here, and I'm going to say 3 bad words that are going to get me in trouble. And my wife tells me, never say bad words. They could be considered cuss words today. But I want to say to everyone, Happy Columbus Day. We are here to celebrate Italian American heritage, but on Monday, as you know, is Columbus Day. And we celebrate Columbus Day to recognize, it started in 1891, actually 1892, but in 1891, 11 Sicilian Americans were slaughtered in New Orleans. And they're worth remembering: Antonio Bagnetta, Antonio Marchesi, Antonio Scafidi, James Caruso, Rocco Gerasi, Pietro Montasterio, Loreto Comites, Emmanuel Polizzi, Joseph Machechi, Frank Romano, and Charles Trainer. We remember them who died because they were Sicilian Americans and Sicilian Americans alone. That's the only reason they were lynched, the largest single-day lynching in the history of the United States of America. But I want to talk about 2 things broader about Italian. The story of the Italian people is the American story. In February, I went to Sicily for the first time. Been to Italy half a dozen times. My grandparents came from Sicily, so my son Joseph and I went. And as we were walking through Caltanissetta, where my grandparents were from, we're walking quietly, and it wasn't like everywhere you go in Italy, it's all tourists. Forgive me, sir, but it's all tourist traps. The menus are in 10 different languages. Everything's. But when you're walking through Caltanissetta, and you're walking through these small villages, everything's in Italian. There's nothing in English. There's nothing in foreign language. It's real Italy. And as I was walking, I'm looking, and I started getting a little choked up. And my son said, "Dad, why you look like you're crying?" I said, my grandparents walked these streets before they came to East Boston. I will never know what prompted them to pack up everything they had. They didn't get on a plane 6 hours to Boston. They got on a boat, and they came across the rough Atlantic seas. And we have no idea why and how. But their story, their journey, is what allowed me today to be the grandson of a Sicilian American and to be here as a state representative. And you think so many people that are here proud of their Italian heritage because of people like that left everything behind. That's the first part of the story. The second part of the story, a little off color, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So I'm talking to one of my colleagues on the floor of the House one day. I'm talking about why Columbus Day is so important and why it's important that we recognize the great contributions of the Italian people. And I said, my dad was about 15 years old in East Boston. His name was Rosario. My middle name is Rosario. I said, why am I not Rosario? He said, because I fought my way through school back then because of the discrimination against Italian Americans at the time. And he said, I was 15 years old the first time I got arrested. I said, that's not something you tell your kid. He goes, an Irish cop walked up to me and said, hey, you little, forgive the language, you little guinea, come here. And he goes, I finally had enough. And I walked up and I punched him in the mouth. I'm telling this to an Irish state rep. I go, and the cop put him in cuffs, they threw him in the paddy wagon, they beat the hell out of him, they brought him home. His mother beat the hell out of him for embarrassing the family because he should have just taken it and not done that. And the Irish state rep said, you're trying to tell me a story about the discrimination against Italians, and you used the phrase, they threw him in the paddy wagon, which was a phrase the English used against the Irish. And so it was a very profound moment for me, because what it got me thinking is, it truly is the story of America. The Irish came here and they were treated terribly by the English and the Brahmins in Boston. The Italians and the Sicilians came here and they were treated terribly by the Irish. We didn't do so good when the Spanish started coming here in East Boston and people were different. But you know what? All of us, when you look out at this crowd and you look at the number of people here from all different walks of life, Spanish and Italian and Arab, it's beautiful because it's the story of America. We're blessed to be a part of it. They're the new part of it. And I'm so excited to be here to share this small little piece with you. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Boy, Rep, is Mary going to give you it later? My God. Mary, don't let that one go. My God. Mary, but I do see the line down the street waiting. Next on the list, we have elected president of the Committees of Italian Living Abroad in Boston, Alberto Mustone.
Mayor, elected officials, to all of you, buonasera. My name is Alberto Mustone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today to raise the Italian flag and represent the Comites, together with my colleagues Giuseppe Giangregorio, Carmine Guarino, and Fabio Colasante. Thank you for being here with me. Comites stands for Committee of Italians Abroad. It's an entity of Italian citizens elected by Italian citizens that live in the New England area, with the purpose to promote cultural and social activities and to support the Italian culture and language in collaboration with the Italian Consulate and the Italian American associations. There are several cultural, social, and religious associations in the Italian community. They all have one common goal: promote, support all activities toward the culture and tradition of our grandfathers. Promoting and celebrating Italian heritage is also a way of honoring those who came here a long time ago, facing hardship, exploitation, and discrimination. Those immigrants turned those adversity into an opportunity to better themselves and their families. Over time, the Italians became an important part of the business, social, and political life in the community in which they lived, giving a great contribution to this great country. City of Revere is a great example. October is an Italian Heritage Month by proclamation. Many events are planned to celebrate the contribution of Italian Americans. Today, we don't just raise an Italian flag. Today, we honor and recognize the achievement of Italian Americans to our community and to the United States. Thank you to the City of Revere for this celebration. Thank you all for celebrating with us. God bless America and Viva l'Italia.
Next, we have the Italian Consul General in Boston, Arnaldo Minuti.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor for me to be here today representing the Italian government at this wonderful celebration of October as the Italian Heritage Month and the flag raising here in Revere. In particular, I would like to thank Mayor Keefe and the City of Revere for inviting us to share this special moment. Today we celebrate not only the Italian culture, but the countless contributions of Italian and Italian Americans to our community. Revere, in particular, has a vibrant Italian American community that has significantly shaped its character and culture. The stories of the Italian immigrants who settled here in the early 20th century are stories of resilience and determination. They brought with them not only their hopes and dreams, but also a deep commitment to family, hard work, and community. Each year, when we raise the Italian flag, we are not only celebrating Italy, our nation, but also the pride and identity of every Italian American present here. This flag symbolizes the journey of countless families who have made this place their home and have contributed to its rich tapestry. So thank you so much for being here. I would like to conclude my speech, my intervention. First of all, thanking again Mayor Keefe for hosting us and for really marking this important day in the Italian American Heritage Month, but today with this ceremony of flag raising. Then I would like to thank all the state authorities for being here, the local authorities, because of course it's important that we really mark also this community linkage and these ties with this area. And then of course I would like to finally thanking you for the Italian American community, I would say, for being here. So before we mentioned faith, family and food, very good. I would add the 4F. The 4F is friendship, because of course what we celebrate during the Italian American Heritage Month, it's of course our story, the story of these difficult journeys, the immigration, and thank you so much for all the stories that you mentioned, because really give the idea of what happened in the past. But what we would like also to celebrate is really in this time the friendship between Italy and this great country who gave us, who gave you, also who gave me this important experience and new dreams, of course, and the possibility to fulfill our dreams and really for our families, our kids, our sons to really experience a new life in this great country. So thank you so much. Viva l'Italia American community, and viva l'Italia, yes. Thank you.
Next up, minchia, fa fritto qua. Okay, we have, my God, it's chilly. I really appreciate that you guys all came out today because it's very, very cold. Next up, we have a Revere High School Italian teacher, Antonetta Fiero Tucker.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mayor Keefe. Thank you, state reps. Thank you, everybody. It's freezing, yes, fa molto freddo. Allora, prima cosa in italiano vorrei ringraziare a tutti per essere qui stasera. Fa freddo, diciamo che Vi ringraziamo per essere qui con noi tutti. Due parole soltanto. I'm first generation born in this country, and it is a great pride being born and raised here in America. My parents were immigrants to this country, and being born in this country and being raised here in Revere was a privilege. My father learned early on that to raise his children and to raise them right, they couldn't be raised in the small town that we came from in Italy. So he immigrated at a very young age after his military duty in Italy and came over to the United States. In order for my father to come over to this country back in 1953, my father was legally adopted by his uncle. It was impossible at that time for anybody to come over to this country in any other way. So he was legally adopted by my grandfather's brother and came over to this country. And with all that being said, at that point in time, he still had to have $5,000 cash in the bank, my great uncle, and he had to have guaranteed work and a guaranteed place to live. Immigration back in the 50s was not easy. So anybody who was allowed to immigrate to this country should take great pride in the country in which they're coming to, because it's not easy. It never has been, and it never will be. So if you're fortunate enough to come and live in this great country, be respectful of it and don't take anything for granted. With that being said, the Italians have brought great, great things to the world, not just to the United States, but to the world in general. Artwork, literature, my favorite Dante Alighieri, as Jessica can vouch to, because she has heard me speak about Dante forever and a day. The great Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, when we walked through the Sistine Chapel. Food, like everybody has talked about, in an Italian household, food is everything. And we can go on and on and on. So the values, as they've been talked about, their family, hard work, faith, and food. Any dream that you have, you can make happen in this country as long as you work hard for it. If you think anybody's going to hand it to you, you're in the wrong place. Anything you want, you work for. If you don't work for it, don't expect it to be handed to you. As for what we're here for today is the raising of the flag. The flag is not just a symbol. It represents a shared history, it represents our values, and the bridge between Italy and our community here in Revere. Events like these remind us all of the importance of unity, especially in this time of division. Let this flag serve as a reminder of where we come from, but also as a beacon for where we are going. May we continue to honor our heritage while building a bright future for the next generation. Thank you all for being here and to celebrate this special day. Thank you, America, for everything you've given us. Viva l'Italia. And as Giuseppe Garibaldi once said, to this end we must all work, not by words, but by deeds.
Next up is a former student of Mrs. Tucker, third generation American, and Mayor's aide, Rosie Burns.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you everyone for being here. I know it's a chilly night, so we really appreciate your presence. I'm here to share a little bit about my story, and I think it's a story that many of us here can relate to. So when my grandparents, Michelangelo and Concetta Maglio, immigrated to the United States from Contrada Avellino, Italy, they had no more than their bags packed. Michelangelo's first job was in the Cambridge Necco factory, where he learned about the English language and the American culture. To him, being an Italian American was an identity to be worn with pride. This was the place to live, work, and raise his 6 children. My great-grandparents believed in this so wholeheartedly that they decided to get married on July 4th and hosted an anniversary party every year with their community to recognize Italian-American pride. Years later, my great-grandparents, Anthony and Ann Venezia, moved to Revere, right on Churtliff Street. And what a lovely coincidence, the Necco factory then opened in Revere in 2004. Revere has long been a place for Italian Americans to call home. This much is no secret. I love that I live somewhere I feel understood and accepted for who I am, while also learning so much about the diversity we have across the board here in Revere. From family-owned restaurants, bakeries, and events like today, we Italian Americans can feel connected to our roots, teach the next generations, and of course, always have good cannolis to bring to a holiday table. Our students have the opportunities to learn the Italian language from other Italian Americans in our city, like Miss Fierro Tucker, who I had the pleasure of having as a teacher at RHS, who even managed to take our class on a trip to Italy, where I got to see Avellino, my family's hometown, in person for the very first time. All this to say, I guess it's no wonder that my family loved Revere so much, and I'm a third-generation resident. I would like to thank Mayor Patrick Keefe for taking this time to encourage our community to come together, and our DEI Director, Steve Morabito, for inviting me up to speak. I know my story is not unique, clearly, from everybody else who has spoken and from everyone here in our audience today. So today, I encourage everyone here with a similar story to reflect on where you have come from and the directions in which you are heading. Today, I encourage our guests to enjoy all the aspects of our culture that make us so special, because I know some of my family's greatest values are reflected here today: eating, dancing, music, and togetherness. Have a great evening, and thank you, everyone.
So you guys ready? Yes. Are you guys ready? Yes. Not yet. I got to give a special shout out to Anna Bacardi, who came here to help serve food after work, and her daughter. And my assistant, who has been running around all day, picking up food, calling people, Asma Abufuda. Now, we're going to have the Italian anthem sung by Enzo Amare.
Those who can rise, please rise, but if you can't, just sing along, especially if you know the words. Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se destra del mondo, il Scipio se ci dà la testa, dove la vittoria le porga la chioma che schiava di Roma, il Dio la creò. Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se desta dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa, dov'è la vittoria, le porga la chioma, che schiava di Roma e Dio la creò. Stringiamoci a forte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia. Stringiamoci a forte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia chiamò, sì!
Now we have, please stay standing, we have Rivere's own city councilor to sing the national anthem, Angela Garino Sawaya.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag
DJ, play some music, and everyone. Now, you guys ready? Okay. So everyone, there's some food. Please line up. Manja, manja. Tutte manja. Tutte manja. But honestly, thank you for coming. And that concludes the program. Hopefully you guys.